Hey, how's it going, family? Welcome to the channel, everybody. This is Each One Reach One. Thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Y'all could be anywhere in the world, man, but you're here with me. Boy, your brother sure do love y'all, man, for joining me. All right, this walk, this journey, it's a long one, man, but it's worth every step, right? And we can only take it if our power calls us, and He's called us out of the dark. That's why we're here. If you weren't called out of the darkness, man, you wouldn't be here. You'd be out there in the world somewhere, man, trying to do something else, trying to be entertained with something by someone, distracted. But you're not distracted, man. Your mind is set on heavenly things. That's why you're here with me. All right. So, my hope is that I'll get to see you guys, man, and meet you guys one day. One day. You know what I mean? When we're called into the wilderness, when we're gathered from all over the world, man, and brought into the bond of the covenant, hopefully I'll get to see you. All right. That's the goal, man. I want it to be as many of us there as possible. I know that it's only about a remnant. It's all about the remnant. It's not about the whole. But man, I love my people so much that I want as many of us to be healed and to be saved as possible. I have nothing to do with that. All I can do, man, is do these videos, do the work through the Holy Spirit, and the Most High is going to draw the remnant to Him. Not any extra, but the remnant. All right. Not one of those who belong to Him are gonna slip through the sieve. All right. No one is gonna make it through the sifter unless you're supposed to fall through. All right. And again, that's the spirit of why I'm here with this video again. You guys might see the title and say, ah, here he goes again. He's talking about the law and the covenants again. Why is he talking about this again? Well, it's because I keep hearing that call. I keep hearing that voice in my head saying, feed my sheep. If you love me, feed my sheep. And I know that many of his people are newly awakening every single day. And all of my videos aren't just showing up in their algorithm. They're not all just showing up for people. The way it works is more like the most recent ones are the ones that show up unless, you're already a subscriber, then, the videos in my collection will show up for you. But for the non-subscribers, they need new videos in order to reach them. All right. And also there are people who are already subscribers who may have already heard this message from me, or you've heard it from somewhere else. But again, like I always say, if you follow me, the key to repetition, the key to learning is repetition, right? So I teach via that method of repetition. So we're here to speak about the covenant and the statutes and the judgments because many people need to understand and want to understand when they awaken. What am I supposed to do? And there are many dissenting voices and opinions and perspectives out there on this topic, and a lot of which are leading people astray. It's causing people to scatter, right? And we don't want to be a scatterer of his flock. We want to be a gatherer of his flock. And we have to do that through truth because if you're lying or you're pushing falsehoods, that's going to scatter the flock or is going to cause his flock to seek out people who are going to tell them lies. Why? Because that's the Most High's doing. That means he doesn't want those people to come to the knowledge of the truth. He wants those people to stay away from him because remember, it's not about everybody. Those who he doesn't plan to save, who he doesn't want to be a part of his flock, he'll push them away. He'll push them to people who's going to tell them those sweet lies, who's going to tell them things that tickle their ears, right? That tickle their fancies. All right, things that sound sweet to the ear. All right, that's what everybody's for. Everybody has a purpose of why they're established. Even in this ministry, as Judas was set up, he was brought in for a time. He had a job to do for a time. He was part of the 12 for a time. All right, but ultimately, his his destination, his predestination was to condemnation, right? Was to do a wicked work. He had to achieve it. There was nothing he can do against it. All right. And so many of us that are out here now without knowing That's their destination. That's their predestination. And so what they have to do is they got to help other people. They got to be like a Pied Piper. They got to toot that horn and sound that flute and get other people to follow them because those people are meant to share in their fate. So without further ado, let's get to the meat. All right. So we're going to go, well, I should say, let's get to the milk. All right. Let's get to the milk. So we're going to start in Deuteronomy chapter 4. If you follow me, you already know where I'm going, but bear with me. Follow me anyway. All right. Because you just may hear something that didn't click before. All right. And even if you do hear something and everything that you heard, you've already heard it and understood it all already, it's not going to hurt you for eating and consuming the Lord's word. Again, remember, his spirit is in this book. This is another opportunity for you to sup with him, for him to come and sup with you, and he become a part of you because you're digesting him. You're taking in him, right? So don't push your plate away. In other words, don't push him away from you right now when this is an opportunity when he's coming to you and he's knocking. He want to sit with you. All right. He wants to sit with you. He wants to talk with you. He wants to spend time with you. Don't say, man, I already heard that story. You ever, sat and talked to one of your older, you know, relatives, grandfather, uncle, or somebody, and they're older. And every time you see them, they want to tell you a story. And they tell you the same stories over and over and over again. And you're like, man, I heard the story 100 times already. Man, every time I see you, man, you're telling me the same story. He just want to spend time with you, man. Don't just let him. Just hear him out. Hear him out. It doesn't hurt you to just let that man talk. He's just trying to spend time with you. He's trying to talk to you, man. He's trying to share with you something of himself to draw you guys closer. So, just what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, whatever. Uh, Let's get to it. I'm too busy looking for the word while I'm also looking at my notes, man. So my brain is going in different directions. At the same time, I have a tendency to do this. If you don't know, your brother is a crazy multitasker, man. My mind works like a computer. It goes 1,000 miles an hour in a bunch of different directions. And sometimes it's hard for me to corral my thoughts and grab one. It's like, the car is zooming on the highway and you got to pluck one up and grab one while they're moving fast. Otherwise, you'll miss it and it's gone, right? And so, it's a gift and a curse, man. It's the gift of genius. Again, that's me in all humbleness. In all humbleness, I'm gifted and cursed. I'm not gonna say cursed because it is a gift, man. It's a blessing from the Most High, man, to be intelligent, to be an intellectual. But what comes with that, man, it does make it hard to concentrate, to focus, to remember things or to recall things in an instant sometimes because of the way I think. Why am I saying this? Just so you get to know me. That's all, because I sit here and I talk to you and I teach and I do these lessons, but I want you guys to form a relationship with me through these lessons as well, man. I want you to get to know me. And so that's just who I am. All right. So let's truly now get to the lesson. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Israel urged to obey God's law. I want to get this out of the way because I want y'all to understand I'm not here to persuade people to not obey God's law. I'm here to get you to understand what God's law is, because there's a lot of confusion about what his law is and what he wants us to follow, because our people don't understand that what's meant for one time isn't necessarily meant for another time, because contrary to popular belief, the Most High will do things in dispensations. He will do one thing in one time, in one era, and he will turn around and do something different in another time, in another era with another group of people. He works that way. He's nuanced that way. All right. Don't let anybody make you feel like the Most High is just in this small box and he doesn't ever do anything different, because he does. Now, therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which Yahawah, the God of your fathers, giveth you. Now, set the context, set the scene and the stage in your minds, okay? Israel is newly out of Egypt. They're infants in their, you know, time as a nation under Yahawah. All right. So a new nation out of Egypt. It's time to start governing themselves, being their own lawmakers and lawgivers and law enforcers and so forth, no longer under the hands of these other people, under their rules, laws, and regulations. Right? So now, the Most High, in His infinite wisdom, He knows that I'm taking them into this land. One, I made a covenant with them, so I have the covenant. So the covenant is one thing. All right, I made the covenant with them, and now, before I put them in this land, I need to go over some rules and some guidelines that they will govern themselves by in the land. So I'm going to start to teach them about laws and everything before they get into the land. So once they get there, they're already well versed in the laws that they need to abide by once they get there. You follow me? Okay. So they're going into the land. They're not there yet. All right. So this is speaking to those Israelites. This is not speaking to you right now in this time when I am speaking, Israel. Okay. And you know that he's not talking to you. You know that it's not meant for your time period because of the context. He says, which I teach you for to do them so that ye may live and go in and possess the land. Are you right now on your way to go into the land that he's promised to us? No, you're not about to go in right now. We're waiting for him to come back and gather us and take us into the wilderness. And then we'll be in the wilderness for a time period, 3.5 years, right? Before we go into our land. And then that in the wilderness, we'll get this all over again. He'll begin to talk to us and teach us about the laws and everything else. That's what we're going to be doing in that wilderness. We're going to be made ready to go into the land. Right? So we're going to get our time when we go through this. But this is not for us right now. All right? This is for those who are getting ready to go into the land. They are being prepared. Okay? Got that. Let's go. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish anything from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahawah your God, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what Yahawah did of Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, see, we have not seen. He said, your eyes have seen. Have your eyes seen what he did to Baal Peor? No, your eyes didn't see it. Because he's not talking to you. All right? He's not talking to you right now. He's talking to them, our forefathers, okay? Your eyes have seen what Yahawah did to Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, Yahawah thy God hath destroyed them from among you. This was something that happened to those people. This was their experience he's speaking to right now. But ye that did cleave unto Yahawah your God are alive, every one of you, this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahawah my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. What? That you should do them in the land where you go to possess it. Why is this key? Because you got to understand that the law of Moses, that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about the covenant. When he's talking about the statutes and the judgments, he's referring to what we call today the law of Moses. All right? We call the laws of the land the law of Moses. That's what we refer to it as. But many don't understand that these are land laws. This is what you got to understand. They are land laws, okay? You're going to do these statutes and judgments in the land, whether you go to possess it. These aren't the the rules for when you're in the lands of your enemies. These are not the laws that you follow. These are not the statutes and judgments that you do in all the lands that I scatter you to. No, these are the laws that you do in the land where you go to possess it. Speaking to you right now in this time, where you know what I mean? As you know, I'm speaking from Moses's perspective right now, right? Keep therefore and do them. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people, right? For what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as Yahawah our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen. Let you hear that? Take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thy eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. All right? So we understand very well that this is not speaking to us. This doesn't apply. Especially the day that thou stoodest before Yahawah thy God in Horeb. Ain't none of us today stood before Yahawah our God in Horeb. We weren't there. I know regeneration is real, but I doubt that we are the generation who was there at that time, right? And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven. Wait a minute. Did I go too far? I think I skipped down too far. Let's come back. Especially the day that thou stoodest before Yahawah thy God in Horeb, when Yahawah said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain. And ye came near and stood under the mountain. We didn't. And the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And Yahawah spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice. Again, none of us experienced this. And he declared unto you his covenant. He didn't declare unto us his covenant at the mountain because we weren't there, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. See, that's the covenant. The covenant are the 10 commandments. The covenant is not the law of Moses. There's a distinction. There is definitely a difference, okay? The 10 commandments is one thing we refer to as the royal law. And then the law of Moses is something different. Those are the land laws, as I said. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And Yahawah commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments. See, the statutes and judgments are separate from the covenant. We entered into the covenant. The covenant was the agreement that was our bond with our power. It was our agreement, our legally binding agreement between us and him. The thing that if we broke it, that would be what would separate us from him. Not the laws of Moses. Again, those were land laws. It's the 10 commandments, which was our bond. That was our agreement. That was the arrangement we agreed to as a people, right? And Yahawah commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments. Listen, that you may do them in the land whither you go over to possess it, because they are land laws. Laws to govern us in the land. It's not the covenant. It's the laws of the land. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yahawah spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. All right? Again, he didn't speak unto us in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. He spoke to our forefathers. Lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldst be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yahawah thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But Yahawah hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. All right. To be a people of inheritance. See, the Israelites are the people of inheritance, not the Gentiles, not whosoever believe in Jesus. All right. Furthermore, Yahawah was angry with me for your sakes, and swear that I should not go over Jordan and that I should not go in unto that good land, which Yahawah thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. See, this was a shadow of things to come, right? Moses could only get the people so far. He did a great work. He had a job to do, all right? He took Israel from infantile stage to and took him through the wilderness and all of this after coming out of Egypt, sojourned with them, in the wilderness all that time. But when it was time to go into the land, he taught them about the land laws and everything. But when it was time to go into the land, he couldn't go. He couldn't go. It wasn't meant for him to go. The baton had to be passed. He did his job. He got them as far as he was supposed to go. All right. This is significant because it signifies the fact that the law of Moses is only supposed to get us so far. It's not supposed to carry us the whole way. All right. We're not taking the law of Moses into our land because when it's time for us to go into the land, we're going to get different laws because we're going to be a more spiritual people and we're going to be under Yahawashi at that time. All right. When we're in the wilderness, he's going to be here. We're going to be in the wilderness being taught what he wants us to be taught without any cut, meaning it's not watered down. Right? We're not taking the law of Moses with us. Now, there's most likely going to be some overlap. There's going to be some things that were included in the law of Moses that's going to be in the laws that he give us. But remember, he's going to write the laws in our inward parts. We're not going to have any need for all of these laws, these land laws, because we're going to have it in us so that we don't mess up. All right. So it says, take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of Yahawah your God. You see, he says, take heed lest you forget the covenant. So he went from talking about the land laws. So now he's hopping back over to talking about the covenant now. All right. He says, I don't want you to forget about the covenant which he made with you and make you a graven image, because it's in the covenant that we made is where we agreed to, where we had it specified to us, no idol worship, right? No adultery, no making graven images. All right. That's in the 10 Commandments. All right. So that's what he's harping on at the moment. That's what he's stressing at this time. Or the likeness of anything which Yahawah thy God hath forbidden thee. For Yahawah thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. When thou shalt beget children. Listen, let me touch on this very quickly. Now, some people who are gainsayers of God, of the Most High Yahawah, they will say, what kind of God is jealous? That sounds human. He sounds like a person. See, it's just men writing this. See, they make the mistake of being idiots. Yes, it is a mistake to be an idiot. But an idiot's reasoning is that jealousy has to be a human trait because humans possess it. But it never occurs to them that maybe God gave humans a godly trait, a trait that he embodies, right? Because jealousy is never meant. Remember, the Bible even tells us jealousy is never meant for man. All right? It is a godly thing. We think that it's a manly thing. No, people just have it. But since it's something that's above us and it's something we're not supposed to embody, because look at the things that we do with it. We don't have the power or the strength to be able to have such an emotion and to not destroy everything because of it. Look at our Father. He destroyed the world because he wasn't pleased with it. But that wasn't because of jealousy. That was because they was doing all sorts of things that didn't please him. But us as a nation, what he did to us was because of his jealousy. See, he didn't destroy the world because of his jealousy, but he did allow us as a people to be destroyed because of it. All right? That is his emotion. It's not a manly thing. All right? He says, Let's go back. When thou shalt beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves and make a graven image or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of Yahweh thy God to provoke him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. See, because he knew what would happen to us, because the Most High told him what was going to happen to us. He told him what our end was going to be, that we was going to end up as a people. I'm speaking as a people, that we as a people were going to end up doing the very things that he said not to do. And the thing that he's talking about is talking about a violation of the covenant, not a violation of the laws of Moses. This is the violation of the Ten Commandments that's about to get them in trouble and get them cause them to perish from off the land. All right. It is the violation of the law. I'm sorry, the violation of the royal law, the Ten Commandments, that is going to cause them to perish utterly from off the land. All right. Not the violation of the law of Moses. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you. Why? For the violation of the covenant. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But if thou, but if from thence thou shalt seek Yahweh thy power, thou shalt find him. If thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul, and this is what's scary to the other nations. We are doing this now. And because his promise is good, right? Money good, money on the wood, right? His work is money on the wood. He told us that if we shall seek him from while we're in the lands where we are scattered to, with all of our hearts and all of our soul, that we shall find him. And guess what? We have found him. Many of us have found him. Many have not. Many are not even seeking him. That's why they haven't found him, because he hasn't just showed up for them. He hasn't come to them. No, when you start seeking him, he reveals himself to you if he wants you to find him. All right. And you have to seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul, not halfway. Verse 30, when thou art in tribulation and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days. Now he's talking about our time. If thou turn to Yahweh thy God and shall be obedient unto his voice, unto Yahawashi, our Messiah, that's his voice. For Yahweh thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee. See, the Gentiles, the heathen, the Christians say that the Most High hath forsaken us, that he's thrown us away. But he's telling us that I've only forsaken thee for a time. But the time is going to come when you're in the lands of your captivities, in the latter days, when you are in tribulation, that you're going to start turning to seek me with all your heart and all your soul, and you shall find me. For I am a merciful God. I will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. Nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, not the law of Moses, the covenant of thy fathers. That's what he's going to remember. He doesn't care about the law of Moses. That's not his main sticking point. That's not his big concern and his big deal. It is the royal law, his 10 commandments. That's what he cares about. See, because he's speaking to us in the latter times. And he says nothing about laws and statutes when he's talking about us in the latter days, right? No, he spoke about laws and statutes when he was talking to them in their present time. But when he begins to talk about the latter days, he makes no mention, zero mention of the law of Moses. He speaks specifically and solely about the commandments. I mean, the 10 commandments, aka the covenant. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that the Most High created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there have been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like it. Did ever People hear the voice of the Most High speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard and live? Or hath the Most High essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that Yahawah your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? The answer is no, he has not. So the Gentiles are absolutely wrong when they say that he has gathered to himself a new people, that he has thrown away the Israelites. They've been tossed away, and the Gentile believers in Jesus has become the new Israel. That is absolutely false. It is a lie. And lies are of Satan. So Christianity is the doctrine of Satan. Unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that Yahawah, he is God. There is none else beside him. And when it says Yahawah, he is God, it says he is Elohim, because there's another way to say this. It's talking about Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, because they are one, right? And since they are one, and he talks about it as if they are one. So the Old Testament only Israelites will say, see, he says there is none beside him. But they don't understand that who's speaking, right? This is Yahawashi speaking, because the Father Yahawah has never spoken directly to any man. He always speaks through either Yahawashi or he speaks through his angels. No one has ever spoken directly to the Father, including Moses. But Moses did speak directly to Yahawashi, though. All right? That's who's speaking. He's speaking on behalf of the Father, who together they are one. Elohim means gods, plural. Powers, plural. And that's the plural. People like to make this be about the angels. No, this is about the Father and his only begotten Son. That's who these plural gods are. These multiple gods, these multiple powers. They're Yahawah and Yahawashi, not the angels. Okay? Out of heaven, he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth, he showed thee his great fire. And thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them. What? Because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them. You mean he didn't choose the Gentile believers in Jesus? No, he chose their seed after them. And he brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that Yahawah, he is Elohim, in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. Look, we know Elohim is plural, but it still says he, right? It says he, but Elohim is plural. So why didn't he say they? They are instead of he is. Because that's just the way he speaks. Because they are one. They don't make a separation between the two of them. That's why it says he. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments. See, the statutes and the commandments, they're separate. They're two different things. Statutes are the land laws. The commandments is the covenant. Commandments are the covenant, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, and that thou, listen, mayst prolong thy days upon the earth, which Yahawah thy God giveth thee forever. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which thou should kill his neighbors. You know what? Yeah, that's all from here. For the sake of time, we'll cut it from here and just go to chapter 5. All right. The 10 commandments repeated. All right. So again, keep context in mind. He just went over everything that he said. Now he's about to repeat. See, because repetition is the key, right? Like I said, They're being repeated because it's all about repetition. The Most High knows you got to repeat things in order for them to stick. All right? That's the art of teaching. Repetition. All right? And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep them and do them. All right? So he's called them to get their attention so that they can hear all the statutes and judgments. All right? Which I speak in your ears this day. Right? So this is after the commandments were given, after the covenant was given. Right? So again, it's separate from the covenant. So when we go into verse 2, Yahawah our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. So the covenant was made before this day. When I say this day, I'm talking about in Moses' time, the day when he's speaking to them. This is later, after the covenant. He gave them the statutes and judgments later. The statutes and judgments were not a part of the covenant. There's a separation between the covenant and the statutes and judgments. All right? Yahawah made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. Yahawah talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. I stood between Yahawah and you at that time to show you the word of Yahawah. All right? As the intercessor, as the mediator. For ye were afraid by reason of the fire and went not up into the mount, saying, I am Yahawah thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, Yahawah, thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Not keep the law of Moses, and keep my commandments. Who does he show mercy to? Those who keep his commandments. The 10 commandments, not the law of Moses. Is this beginning to get clear to you? So when you're asking yourself, well, what do I do? Well, I just woke up and I know I'm an Israelite. What do I do? What do I keep? Some people say the law of Moses. Some people say the 10 commandments. Some people say both. What do I do? You keep the commandments. That's it. You have faith, you believe in him, you trust in him, and you keep his commandments. The law of Moses are land laws. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahawah thy God in vain. For the Lord Yahawah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. What does it mean to take his name in vain? To make his name of no strength, of no power, of no consequence, to make void the power of his name. How can you make void the power of his name? Well, you change his name. That's one way to do it. You rename him Yahawah and just start calling him God or Lord. That's how you make his name vain. How do you make the name of his son vain? You change his name from Yahawashi, which means he is salvation, which means something. When you say Yahawashi, you say Yahawah is salvation or he is salvation. It means something. You're calling to mind the Father every time you call on Yahawashi. You're acknowledging the fact that the Father is the root of our salvation and he's the one that's going to save us every time you say his name. But when you say Jesus, there's no power there. It doesn't mean anything. It's not a Hebrew word. It has no strength, no power, no significance. And it's not his name. It doesn't belong to him. It's not a translation or a transliteration of his name. It is a different name altogether that belongs to a different God of a different people altogether. Don't let them beguile you. into saying, calling on the name Jesus and thinking that you're calling on him. Oh, that's the name I know him by. He knows who I'm talking to when I call that name. We are in the time of knowing, the time of knowledge going to and fro. I'm sorry, people running to and fro and knowledge being increased. Right? I guess knowledge is going to and fro also, I guess. Right? Knowledge is being increased. When you know more, you do more. And when you know better, you do better. So we know more than we used to know. We got to do more than we used to. We got to do more than call him Lord. We got to call him Yahawah. We got to call him Yahawashi. We got to do better than calling him Jesus. We got to call him Yahawashi because we know better. We're in the time of knowing. So we got to do better. We are not held to the same standard as yesteryear for the people who didn't have the revelation of his name, for the people who lost it and never recovered it. You are not that generation. You are in the generation of knowing better, of all this information being available out here, all of these people teaching. Through the Holy Spirit, you're supposed to know who's teaching correctly and who is not. The Holy Spirit will give you the understanding. It will vibe with you. You will know. All right? All right, continuing on. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as Yahawah thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahawah thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. But let's stop for a second. Let's stop. Because I want you to first take note and remember that in the New Testament, when Yahawashi was saying, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, when he was being questioned by the Pharisees, asking why his disciples didn't observe the Sabbath and why he himself worked on the Sabbath, right? I want you to keep this in mind right here. Remember time and place, all right? He's speaking to the people at this time, not to us in our time. He's referencing, he says, thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant. We don't have manservants and maidservants. Nor thine ox, don't have them. Nor thine ass, don't have them. Nor any of thy cattle, don't have them. Nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. We're not in our own land. Ding, 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 ding. That's the key for you to know who he's talking to. We have no strangers that's within our gates because we don't have any gates. We don't have any land. So this is not speaking to us. Keep context in mind when you're reading the scriptures. That thy manservant and thy maidservant, which we don't have, may rest as well as thou. And remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt. We weren't servants in the land of Egypt. They were. Not speaking to you right now. This is not a reference to us in the latter days. This is a reference to them in the time when this is being spoken. You got to keep in mind time and place when things are being applied. Is it applying to the time when it's being spoken, when it's being prophesied? Or does it apply to the latter days or to a later time? These are the questions you got to ask yourself. And the context will always give you the answer. And remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt, and that Yahawah thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Again, that didn't happen to us in our time. Therefore, Yahawah thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Therefore, Yahawah commanded thee, speaking to them in that time, to keep the Sabbath day. I know somebody's freaking out right now. They're freaking out. They can't believe I'm saying this. I'm not saying this. I'm reading the book. That's it. I'm not saying anything. The scriptures are saying it. I'm reading it. Don't argue with me. Argue with the Father if you got a problem with anything that's being read. Honor thy father and thy mother, as Yahawah thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which Yahawah thy God giveth thee. Do I got to read it again, or did you get it the first time? All right, let's continue. Thou shalt not kill, neither shalt thou commit adultery, neither shalt thou steal, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor, neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. All right. So that concludes him repeating the Ten Commandments. All right. Verse 22. These words Yahawah spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. That pause was for a reason. I wanted to let it marinate for a quick second before I repeat it. Let's do it again. These words Yahawah spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. Yahawashi is that great voice. And he added no more. So he gave the 10 commandments, which was the covenant, and he added no more. So you see, the law of Moses is separate from the covenant. So when we talk about the old covenant, you can't include the law of Moses. It doesn't belong there. They're separate. All right? So he gave them the 10 commandments and he added no more. But let's keep following what happened. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, Behold, Yahawah our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard Yahawashi, aka his voice, out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that Elohim doth talk with man, and he liveth. Now, therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Yahawah our God anymore, then we shall die. Remember, Yahawashi being that great voice, right? And this is symbolic of the fact that many, what we call Old Testament only Israelites, they hate to hear about Yahawashi. They hate to hear about our Messiah. Because in their spirits, when they hear him, they feel like they're going to die. That's why they hate him so much. You think it's because they love the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, and the law of Moses so much. No, it's because when they hear him, they feel death. It makes them uneasy to encounter his spirit because his spirit is at war with them because they are his enemies. So they feel like they're encountering death when they encounter his spirit. That's why they want us to shut up. They want us to stop teaching and preaching him. That's why the Pharisees wanted him to shut up. That's why the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes and the wicked elders of our people wanted him to shut up. That's why they wanted his apostles and all his disciples to shut up. And why they persecuted them and sought them out to kill them. Because they were at war with his spirit. They felt condemned and convicted by his spirit. They felt like they were being assaulted by his spirit. So it angered them, it enraged them, and it set them at war with him. Nothing new under the sun. That which has been is that which is and which shall be. And that's what we're experiencing now. That's why many people can't get this. They don't want to get it. When you start talking about Hamashiach Yahawashi, they start talking crazy. saying we're idol worshipers, we're worshiping an idol, you know what I'm saying? That and just they start saying all manner of disrespectful things because they are at war with the Spirit of God, with the Spirit of our Father, who came in the person and in the name of Yahawashi, his only begotten Son. But they can't see it, they can't hear it, they can't receive it, they can't accept it, they're gonna deny it. So it ain't for them. They are meant to die. That die, let it die. That dieth, let it die. So I'm not here for them. All right? I'm here for the rest of you who have hope. All right? For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Go thou near and hear all that Yahawah our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that Yahawah our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. Now, follow what's going on. The whole congregation of Israel was there. The Father through Yahawashi spoke to all of the people. He didn't speak through Moses first. He spoke directly to all the people at once first. They didn't want to hear his voice anymore. They didn't want to hear Yahawashi anymore. They didn't want to have a direct relationship with him. They wanted Moses to intercede for them. They wanted Moses to be the go-between. So he gave them what they asked for. He conceded to them to let them have what they asked for. Why? Because our Father would begin to show us that our way is the wrong way, that his way is better. So he decided to go on a long process of teaching us that our way is not better than his way, that he would make us desire his way through having our way and failing under our own way. That's what he did. You ever heard somebody use the term, I can show you better than I can tell you? Yeah, same thing. He decided to show us and not just tell us what was good for us. He decided to show us what was good for us by first showing us what was not good for us. So he allowed us to have our way. The same way he allowed our people to have our way when we start asking for a king. He was our king, but we wanted to be like the other nations and wanted a man over us. See, the same way. They didn't want our king, our God, to speak directly to us. They wanted a man over them to speak directly to them. They wanted Moses to speak directly to them, not the Most High. You see that? Same thing. So he gave them what they asked for. But again, Moses was only meant to get the people so far. Then he had to pass the baton. Same in our time. We are no longer hearing Moses' voice or listening to Moses. We are listening to Yahawashi. He has taken the baton. He is the runner of the race, running the race for us right now, not Moses. All right? He says, go thou near and hear all that Yahawah our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that Yahawah our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. So remember, they just heard the voice of Yahawah for themselves. He spoke the 10 commandments to them. And they was like, oh, wait, hold on, wait, stop. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. Moses, we don't want to hear God speak to us anymore. How about you go over there and go talk to him for us, and you come back and talk on his behalf? So this is what they said after they were given the 10 commandments, right? So they were given, again, just to reiterate, they were given the 10 commandments directly. Then they murmured against him. They murmured against it and asked for something different. They wanted Moses to go back. So what is the point of Moses going back to go speak to the Most High and then coming to relate to them what they just finished hearing him speak to them directly already? But let's proceed, right? Because they say we're not going to hear what he said and do what he said to us directly. We'll do what he says through you. Whatever you come back and say, we'll do that. We're not going to do We don't want to do what he told us directly. That's the state of the Israelites at this time. This is what's going on. And Yahawah heard the voice of your words when ye spake unto me. And Yahawah said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. All right. And I always got to point this out. When it says they have well said, it doesn't mean they did a good job or I approve of what they said. No, it's like saying they have very well said all that they have spoken. Right. So he's like, okay, I heard them. I heard what they said. They want to hear, they don't want to hear directly from me. They don't like my law. They don't like my commandments. They don't like what I had to speak to them. Okay. All right, fine. Look what happens next. Oh, that there was such a heart in them that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always. And keep all my what? All my commandments always. Not the law of Moses, all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. So what could we have done so that it would have been well with us and all of the children forever? Keep his commandments. Go say to them, get you into your tents again. So now he's sending them off from before him. Get out of my face. Go back to your tents. But as for thee, Moses, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments. Now listen, and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them. Now he just added, he's about to add statutes and judgments because they didn't like just receiving the commandments. See, the Most High is putting something on them harder to carry, harder to bear because they didn't want to hear from him. So now that y'all just want to hear from Moses, Moses is going to come bring you a whole bunch of stuff, a whole lot more than what I try to put on you, because this is the punishment for not wanting to hear me, not wanting to hear from me directly, not wanting to have a relationship with me directly. Now you're not going to have one with me. I'm going to put all of these burdens on you that I was not placing on you before, right? I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them. Listen, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Is it possible for anyone to say that that's my interpretation, that I'm interpreting it wrong? Hmm? Who's going to say it? Who's going to be the one to say that's just your interpretation? You're interpreting it wrong. You're a devil. You a damn demon. You a bug out. I know you want to say it, but you can't really say it because you see that the Bible says it. You see that it's right there in the word, right? You see it right there, right? I'm not making it up, right? Okay. You will speak unto these people all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, and that they may do them, not forever, not for eternity, not for all times, not no matter what the situation is, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter where they go. No, it says that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do, therefore, as Yahawah your God hath commanded you. You didn't want just the commandments. Now you're going to do all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments. Because you swore that whatever he came back and told me to say, that you was going to hear it. You didn't want to hear what he said before. So now you swore that you was going to hear this. Ye shall observe to do, therefore, as Yahawah your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which Yahawah your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. Right? Right. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Restoration promised. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, because in Deuteronomy chapter 28 is the blessings and the curses, right? which let's go back. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Yahweh thy God hath driven thee. So he's saying that when we are scattered, like he promised to scatter us, right, for disobedience to the to his commandments, right, we would be scattered among all the nations, scattered among all the nations, right? He says, it will begin to come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have said before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind. That's what we're doing now. We're calling all these things to mind everywhere we are among all the nations. We're everywhere. Australia, all throughout Africa. We're in Asia. We're all throughout the Americas. We're all throughout Europe. We are everywhere, right? And we're calling these things to mind. We are we are the fulfilling of prophecy before the eyes of the world, and they're calling it cult activity. And shall return unto Yahweh thy God. That's what we're doing. And shall obey his voice. Obey Yahawashi, Hamashiach, our King, his only begotten Son, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul. That then Yahweh thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations where the Yahweh thy God hath scattered thee. And that's what we're waiting on. Pursuant to Revelation, when he says, and I will send my angels to gather my elect from the four winds of the earth, right? From everywhere we are scattered. He's going to gather us, right? We don't have to flee from anywhere. You don't have to run into Africa or run here or run there. Stay where you are, stay put, and have faith and trust him to keep his word. He says he's going to gather you from wherever you are. Trust him to do it. You don't got to go anywhere. That's why he put us everywhere, because it's going to make our the scene of our salvation. Our second Exodus is going to be so much more magnificent than the first, because we were all together in the first Egypt, but we're scattered right now. So when he performs his great act of deliverance and gathering us out of the lands of our captivity, it's going to be a worldwide event. All the nations are going to see it because the Israelites are everywhere. So everybody's going to get to see us being gathered. All right? It's going to be a bigger deal. That's why he says the time is going to come when people are no longer going to call to mind the fact that he brought us up out of the land of Egypt. But they're going to talk about our second Exodus, our second gathering. It's all that they're going to talk about, because it's going to be such a big deal, such a magnificent show and a display of his power, right? That's what's going to, it's going to become the thing of legend. Everyone is going to talk about it. All right? He says, if any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. No need to flee anywhere, anybody. He's letting you know. Stay put. Your power is to be still and wait upon him. Trust him. Faith is everything. Verse 5, and Yahweh thy power will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. So he's going to do more for us than he did for our forefathers when he brings us into the land. We're going to have it better than they had it. He says, I'm going to multiply thee above. We're going to become more numerous in number. We're going to have more stuff, more children, more manservants, more strangers among us as a possession. And Yahweh thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed. See, I'm circumcised your heart. You're not gonna have to keep the law of circumcision the way you know it now. In that time, I'm going to circumcise your heart. See, that's doing one thing, circumcision of the flesh, and then circumcision of the heart. That's doing one thing, then he's changing and doing something different in another time. In their day, they had circumcision of the flesh. In our day, we have circumcision of the heart. You see that? Different things for different times, right? You get it? Right? And Yahweh thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed to love Yahweh thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies. See, this is also why they hate our awakening, because once we awake and we return to him, they get closer to all of the curses being put upon them, right? Upon thine enemies and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh and do, listen, all his commandments, which I command thee this day. All right? All his commandments, which I command thee this day. And Yahweh thy God will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle. See, we're going to have a whole lot of everything. We're going to be multiplied in every way, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good. So if he says again, means he's going to do it not, he's going to do it once more to the same people, not to a different people, because the word again doesn't apply if he's gathering a new people, right? If I say I'm going to slap you again, that means I slapped you once, right? So I'm like, man, out of all the analogies you're going to use, why you want to slap me, brother? Right? I know it's crazy. My bad. My bad. But you get the point, right? That's for the Gentiles who believe that Israel is forsaken and cast away, and they're the new Israel. All right, so let's go to Jeremiah chapter 11. Uh, we'll start at verse 1. The broken covenant. So we know what the covenant is now, right? We know the covenant is the Ten Commandments. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahawah saying, hear ye the words of this covenant, and speak unto the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and say thou unto them, thus saith Yahawah, the God of Israel, cursed be the man that obeyeth not the words of this covenant, which I commanded your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, from the iron furnace, saying, obey my voice and do them, according to all which I command you. So shall ye be my people, and I will be your God. So look, as you see, it tells you that the law, the commandments, the covenant is the commandments that we were given in the day when he brought us out of the land of Egypt. All right? It's not the law of Moses. All right? It's not the land laws. It's the Ten Commandments. That I may perform the oath which I have sworn unto your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. Then answered I and said, so be it, O Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi. Then the Lord Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, said unto me, proclaim all these words in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, hear ye the words of this covenant and do them. For I earnestly protested unto your fathers in the day that I brought them up out of the land of Egypt, even unto this day, rising early and protesting, saying, obey my voice. How did he rise up early? Protesting, telling us to obey his voice. Is through his servants, the prophets. When his prophets speak, they're speaking on his behalf. That is his voice speaking through them. Them rising up early and protesting to the people is the same as him doing it. Yet they obeyed not, nor inclined their ear, but walked everyone in the imagination of their evil heart. Therefore I will bring upon them all the words of this covenant which I commanded them to do, but they did them not. And Yahawah said unto me, a conspiracy is found among the men of Judah, and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They are turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers, which refused to hear my words. Remember, they didn't want to hear him. They didn't want to hear the Ten Commandments spoken directly from him, and they went after other gods to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have broken my covenant which I made with their fathers. What does it mean if you break a covenant? If you break an agreement, you make it void, right? They made void the covenant. It's over. They made void the covenant. Therefore, thus saith Yahawah, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. That's the result of breaking the covenant. Because if they kept the covenant, he wouldn't have done it. But they broke the covenant, which means there is a punishment for breaking it. Breaking it means it was severed, means it's no more, right? They broke the covenant. And so they had to be punished. It's not the same way as breaking the law. The law isn't made void because you broke the law. Breaking the law in this sense means you just didn't abide by it, right? But a covenant is different from the law in this sense. Remember, because we're not talking about land laws. We're talking about an agreement. When an agreement is broken, it's different from when the law is broken. When the agreement is broken, it becomes void. All right? We understand? Okay, let's continue. Therefore, thus saith Yahawah, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. That's why our people were able to go through all of the slavery and oppression, and he didn't listen to them. He didn't hearken unto them. He turned a blind eye to them. Like he said, I will go my way until they acknowledge their offense, right? That's what he did. Then shall the cities of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem go and cry unto the gods unto whom they offer incense. Jesus, Allah. But they shall not save them at all in the time of their trouble. Buddha. For according ancestors, according to all the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah. And according to the number of the streets of Jerusalem have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense unto Baal. Therefore, pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or a prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. What hath my beloved to do in mine house, seeing she hath brought lewdness with many, and the holy flesh is passed from thee? When thou doest evil, then thou rejoicest. Yahawah called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. For Yahawah of hosts hath planted thee, hath pronounced, for Yahawah of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee. For the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense to Baal. So you see, and you read and you hear about the broken covenant, right? This is the reason why there was a necessity for a new covenant, for a renewed covenant, because the first one was broken. It was, AKA, made void. All right. Zechariah chapter 11, verse 7. And I will feed the flock of the slaughter, which is Israel, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took unto me two staves. The one I called beauty, and the other I called bands. And I will feed the flock. That's Judah, the house of Judah and the house of Israel. Three shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them. and their soul abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you. That dieth, let it die. And that is to be cut off, let it be cut off. And let the rest eat every one the flesh of another. And I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant, which I made with all the people. Somebody needs it again. And I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant, which I made with all the people. I'm cutting them off. I'm breaking the relationship. You're no longer bound to it because you wouldn't keep it. You broke it on your end. I broke it on mine. The law is the covenant is dissolved. All right, my agreement with you, my relationship with you is broken right now. Remember, it was for a time that we had this broken relationship with him. That's why he sent Christ. He sent Yahawashi to repair the breach, to reconcile us unto him. Old Testament only Israelites don't understand that if the New Testament is not valid, if there is no Messiah in their new covenant, that there is no relationship with the Father. You don't have one. You can't have one. The old covenant is broken. You can't call yourself Israel anymore if you don't believe in the new covenant. You can't claim to be his people if you don't believe in the new covenant. If you are not under the new covenant, you are not Israel. You can't call yourself his people. If you are claiming we are not under the new covenant yet, that means we are not yet his people. We got to stop claiming to be his people because his people are the people to whom with whom he have a covenant with. If there is no covenant, there is no people. Do we get it? All right, he says, and I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant, which I made with all the people. And it was broken in that day. And so the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew that it was the word of Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi. Verse 14. Then I cut asunder mine other staff, even bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. See, the covenant was broken and our brotherhood was broken. All right, for you Gentiles, this is the reason why the Jews had a problem with the Gentiles because they were Israelites also, but the brotherhood was broken. So they had animosity with each other. All right? Jew is short for Judah. But you see, constantly there is a difference made between Judah and Israel. So if you only hear about the Jews, aka Judah, why is there no talk of Israel in the new covenant? I'm sorry, in the New Testament. There was talk. You just thought it was talking about non-Israel when it kept talking about the Gentiles. We keep trying to tell you that it's talking about Israel, but you won't believe us. You won't listen. He told us in Jeremiah 31 and 31 that the day is going to come when he's going to make a new covenant with the house of Judah and the house of Israel, not just with the house of Judah. But you won't listen to us. You won't listen to the Bible. You listen to Christianity, which is anti-Bible, as I keep showing you. Isaiah chapter 1 and last, and we're going to get out of here after this. Let's come down to verse 10. The Most High has had enough. Wait a minute. So you mean he changed something? Hear the word of Yahawah, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. See, he's not talking about literal Sodom and Gomorrah as in the places. He's talking about Israel, who he's likening unto Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me? Why are you doing all of these sacrifices unto me? What is the purpose of it? Why is he saying this? Because the covenant was broken already. They broke the covenant. He broke the covenant. It's supposed to be over. But yet here they are with the covenant broken, still trying to do these things that were pointless, right? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams, meaning I'm tired of it, and the fat of fat beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks, or of lambs, or of he goats. When ye come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand to tread my courts? Who told you to do all of this stuff? Who told you all this stuff was necessary? What is the point? Who is teaching you to do all of these things that I hate? Bring no more vain oblations, pointless, unprofitable, right? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. Follow me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with, meaning I cannot bear them. That's what I cannot away with means. Meaning I cannot bear them. I can't stomach it. It is iniquity. Even the solemn meeting. Wait a minute. The new moons and the Sabbaths, them keeping the Sabbaths and the new moons, he says he can't bear it. He called it iniquity. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hated it. Oh, are you keeping this day out? You keeping that day? How you keeping this feast day? How you keeping that feast day out? You ain't keeping the feast day? You ain't keeping the high holy days out? You going off out? My soul hateth. They are trouble unto me. Are you listening? I am weary to bear them. Are you listening? I don't think you're listening. He told you that he hates your new moons and your appointed feasts. He hates your Sabbath days, right? He hates your Sabbath feasts and your Sabbath observances. He hates your calling of assemblies, right? He hates all your vain oblations. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. When you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. They think that by keeping this day and that day, that their prayers are being heard, that it makes them righteous in the sight of the Most High. It does not. Your righteousness is as filthy rags. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. He calls it being filthy when you keeping all that stuff, when you're doing it, because it is a sign of the old covenant that we broke. He's not acknowledging it anymore because the covenant was broken. He calls it evil and filthy. You're unclean when you're trying to keep this day and that day. Your many prayers he will not hear. Your hands are full of blood because you don't acknowledge the blood of Yahawashi. You crucify him afresh every day with your attempting to keep the law of Moses. What you saying the law of Moses is still in effect. You saying the old covenant is still in effect. You're guilty of the blood of Yahawashi. People don't get it. They think that, it's a righteous thing to try to fight for the old covenant and fight for the law of Moses, but it is not. It is not a righteous thing, and they don't get it because they don't understand the Most High. They don't really have a relationship with him. They have a zeal for the Most High, but it's not according to knowledge. All praise, honor, and glory belongs to our Heavenly Father, Yahawah, in the name of our Heavenly King, Hamashiach Yahawashi, the Holy One of Israel. All right. So I hope that you newcomers to my channel, you people who are newly awakened, and you brothers and sisters who have been awakened for a while, you are not new to my channel, or you are, but you've heard these things before, that you are strengthened in your belief and in your understanding of what's what and what's not. All right? Because you're wasting your time if you're trying to observe the feast days and what we'll call the holy days. They're not considered holy days anymore. He said his soul hated them. They are a trouble unto him. So they are unholy days now, but they are still markers of the times, right? He's still going to use the times, the seasons of the appointed feast and so forth to execute his will. But our observances of these days, he's not recognizing them. They don't please him. All right? That's what you got to understand. Keep the Ten Commandments. The law of Moses is void. It's abolished. It's done away with. He's making a new covenant with us, right? A new agreement with us. You got to read the New Testament to understand it. All right. Go read Red Letter. Go read the words of the King and find out what's what. Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahawashi. Grace, peace, and blessings to you brothers and sisters out there that are listening, following, and learning. Go out there and be a blessing to someone else if you can. Each one, reach one. Shalom.